The Imperium does not waste anything. Not steel, not fuel, not prayers, and certainly not flesh. When a man is convicted of theft on a forge world, he does not die. When a woman speaks heresy in the lower hive, she is not simply executed. When a child is born with the wrong mutation, the wrong gift, the wrong spark of something that should not be, they do not end, they continue, just not as themselves. This is the part they don't write in the Imperial Creed. This is the hymn that plays in rooms where only tech priests pray. This is the knowledge that lives in the minds of arbitrators who stop sleeping well after their first decade of service. The Imperium has a supply chain. Everything has a supply chain. Food, weapons, ships. And at the end of certain chains, past the ore processors and the assembly lines and the consecration chambers, there are things that used to be people. They call them servitors. They call the process servitorization. They do not call it what it is. Metallica Ultima sits in the segmentum obscurus like a rusted nail driven into the void. It is not one of the great forge worlds, not Mars, not Ryza, not Griffon 4 before it fell. It is medium-sized, mid-tier. It produces exactly what it is supposed to produce. Stub guns, last gun power packs, promethium barrels, and servitors. Millions of servitors. The forge world's atmosphere is the color of burnt oil. The sky does not exist. Only layers of smog stacked so thick that day and night are indistinguishable. Factories stretch across continents, each one a country unto itself, each one breathing smoke and grinding metal and singing the hymns of the Omnissiah in languages made of binary and pain. Metallica Ultima has a quota. Every forge world does. Mars determines the numbers, the Administratum ratifies them, the Mechanicus enacts them. Metallica Ultima must produce 140,000 standard servitor units per solar month. Combat servitors, labor servitors, maintenance servitors, cherubs, gun servitors, servitors that man the fire control systems on warships, servitors that load shells into basilisk artillery, servitors that scrub reactor chambers, servitors that serve as living furniture in the palaces of planetary governors. The Imperium needs bodies. It always needs bodies. And Metallica Ultima provides. His name was Davros Kine. He was not important. He did not expect to be remembered. He was 43 standard years old, which was old for a manufactorum worker, but not so old that his hands shook. He had worked in Forge Section Gamma 7 for 26 years, assembling lasgun charge packs. His job was to slot the hydrogen cell into the casing, check the connection leads, apply the sacred oils, and pass it down the line. He did this 8,000 times per shift. He had done this 4 million times in his life. Davros did not think about the war. He did not think about the Imperium. He thought about his daughter, Senna, who was 17 and worked 2 sectors away in a textile mill. He thought about food. He thought about whether he could afford new boots before the old ones split completely. He thought about small things, because small things were all he was allowed to have. Davros was not a criminal, not at first. But the Imperium has many definitions of crime, and they are broader than most people realize. It began with a water ration. Gamma 7 had 11,000 workers. They worked in shifts, 16 hours on, 8 hours off. Sleep was done in communal blocks. Food was dispensed from nutrient stations. Water was rationed carefully, measured in liters per person per day, because Metallica Ultima had no natural water, and every drop was imported or recycled. The ration was half a liter per shift. It was not enough. It had never been enough. But the Mechanicus had calculated that half a liter was sufficient to prevent fatal dehydration in a worker performing standard labor in an environment maintained at optimal temperature. The fact that Gamma 7 ran 15 degrees hotter than optimal, and that the work was not standard but involved leaning over heat-sealed assembly units, did not enter into the calculation. The workers learned to endure. But in the 3rd month of the year, 403.M41, the water stopped coming, not entirely, just slowly. A quarter liter per shift, then less. The dispensers would hiss and click, producing only damp air. Workers began to faint at their stations. Productivity dropped by 4%, then 6%. The overseers reported the issue. The Mechanicus reviewed the logs. The answer came back 3 weeks later, a pipe failure in subsection Aquila 9, 11 kilometers away. Repairs were pending. Expected completion, 6 months. 6 months. Davros watched 2 workers die of heat stroke in that time. He watched 3 more get dragged off by Medica servitors and never return. He stopped sweating because his body had nothing left to sweat. He did what anyone would do. He stole water. It was not a dramatic theft. There was no planning, no conspiracy, no intent to undermine the Omnissiah's holy supply chain. Davros simply noticed that the overseers had their own water dispensers, larger ones, located in the observation galleries above the manufactorum floor. One night, during a shift change when the gallery was briefly empty, Davros climbed the maintenance ladder. He filled his canteen. He climbed back down. He drank. It was the best thing he had tasted in months. He did it again the next week and the week after. He shared the water with Senna when she visited. He told no one else. He was not greedy. He took only what he needed to survive. But the Mechanicus noticed. Of course they noticed. Every dispenser is logged, every milliliter accounted for. The Mechanicus does not guess. It measures, it calculates, it knows. 3 months after Davros's first theft, an audit servitor flagged an anomaly. Overseer Gallery 7 Gamma had dispensed 43 liters more water than the number of authorized overseers could account for. The Arbids were summoned. They arrived in the middle of a shift. 6 of them, armored in black carapace, carrying shock mauls and shotguns. They did not ask questions. They did not conduct interviews. They simply reviewed the security footage, grainy, low-resolution pic captures from ancient systems, and identified the figure climbing the ladder. They matched the gait, the build, the uniform markings. Davros Kine. They took him from the assembly line without a word. His last gun charge pack was still in his hands when they dragged him away. There was no trial, not in the way most people imagine. The Adeptus Arbites do not deliberate. They do not weigh evidence. They enforce the law, and the law is written in the Lex Imperialis, a document so vast that no single human has read it in its entirety. The relevant statute was clear. Unauthorized consumption of Mechanicus resources constitutes theft from the Omnissiah. Penalty, servitorization, or death at the discretion of the presiding Magos. Davros was given a choice. He could accept servitorization, conversion into a servitor unit, his mind wiped, his body repurposed for the glory of the machine god. Or he could be executed. He chose servitorization. He chose it because he thought it meant survival. He chose it because he thought they might leave part of him intact. He chose it because the Arbites told him that his daughter would lose her work placement if he chose execution, and that she might be investigated as a potential accomplice. He chose it because he had no choice. The servitor conversion facility of Metallica Ultima is not located in the manufactorums. It is deeper, beneath the smog layer, beneath the hab blocks and the transit tunnels and the waste reclamation vats. It is a place where the air smells like counterseptic and burnt hair. Davros was taken there in a transport with 40 other prisoners. Some were criminals like him, thieves, heretics, deviants. Others were simply unproductive. One man had fallen asleep at his station too many times. One woman had screamed during a prayer session. One boy, no older than 15, had been caught drawing pictures of birds in the dust. None of them spoke. They were processed in shifts, stripped, scanned, cataloged. A tech priest walked along the line, running an auspex over each body, murmuring in Binaric. Some prisoners were marked with red sigils, others with green. Davros was marked green. He did not know what it meant. The red-marked prisoners were taken to a different wing. Davros never saw them again. The green-marked were led into a surgical theater. The servitorization process is ancient. It predates the Imperium. It predates the Emperor's unification. Some say it predates Old Night. The Mechanicus has refined it over 10,000 years, not to make it more humane, but to make it more efficient. The process begins with chemical lobotomization. Davros was strapped to a surgical table. Needles slid into his veins. His vision blurred. His thoughts became slow, then distant, then mostly gone. He could still hear, he could still feel, but he could not move, he could not scream. A tech priest stood over him, mechadendrites unfolding like spider legs. "You have been judged," the priest said. His voice was flat, processed through a vox grill. "You will serve the Omnissiah. Your flesh is weak, it will be corrected." The priest did not wait for a response. The first cut was along the scalp. Davros felt it, a line of cold fire. The priest peeled back skin and bone with a bone saw that whined like a prayer. Davros's skull opened. His brain was exposed. The priest inserted a neural inhibitor, a small black device the size of a thumb, directly into the frontal lobe. It dug in with ceramic tendrils. Davros felt something inside him go dark. Not pain. Absence. A part of him that used to be there simply stopped. His memories did not vanish. Not entirely. He could still remember Senna. He could still remember water. But he could not care. The capacity for caring had been severed. The priest worked quickly. Augmetics were installed, a data port drilled into the back of the skull, a Vox receptor wired into the auditory cortex, chemical regulators implanted in the brainstem to suppress emotion, fear, and autonomy. Then the priest moved to the body. Davros's right arm was removed at the shoulder. It was replaced with a manipulator claw, a crude mechanical limb designed for gripping heavy objects. His legs were left mostly intact, though the feet were amputated and replaced with maglock soles. His chest was opened. A secondary heart was installed, not an organic one, but a pump. His lungs were augmented with filters. His stomach was removed entirely, replaced with a nutrient processor that could digest reclaimed biomass. He did not need to eat anymore. He did not need to want. By the time the surgery was finished, 17 hours had passed. Davros' kind no longer existed. In his place was Servitor Unit 76G4409. Servitor 776G4409 was assigned to munitions transport. This is what he did. He stood in a munitions depot for 16 hours per day. When a crate of artillery shells arrived on a conveyor, he lifted it with his manipulator claw. He carried it to the loading dock. He placed it on a pallet. He returned to his position. He waited for the next crate. He did this 800 times per day. He did not get tired. The chemical regulators in his brain prevented fatigue signals from reaching his consciousness. He did not get bored. The neural inhibitor had erased the capacity for boredom. He did not think about his daughter. He did not think about water. He did not think. The Mechanicus had calculated that a servitor could perform this task for 12 years before biological degradation rendered it non-functional. After 12 years, the body would be disassembled. The augmetics would be reclaimed. The biomass would be rendered into nutrient paste. Nothing wasted. This was the plan. But plans, even Mechanicus plans, are subject to the galaxy's indifference. In the year 407 M41, 4 years after Davros Keen became a servitor, the Administratum issued a new requisition order. The war in the Cryptus sector was expanding. 36 worlds had been consumed by a Tyranid splinter fleet. The Imperial Navy was mobilizing. The Astra Militarum was deploying. The Forge worlds were commanded to increase production by 30%. Metallica Ultima received the order. It complied. Shifts were extended. Workers were reassigned. Quotas were raised, and the demand for servitors increased. Not just any servitors. Gun servitors. The Imperial Guard needed mobile fire platforms, servitors equipped with heavy bolters, multi-meltas, plasma cannons, servitors that could be deployed on the front lines, that could absorb enemy fire, that could die in place of actual soldiers. The Mechanicus began converting servitors en masse. Servitor 776G4409 was selected. He was taken from the munitions depot. He was brought back to the surgical theater. The tech priests did not explain. They did not need to. They removed his manipulator claw. They installed a heavy bolter. The weapon was grafted directly into his nervous system. The trigger mechanism was wired to a neural command interface. When the command signal was received, when the designation fire appeared in his rudimentary consciousness, his body would fire the weapon. He would not choose to fire. He would simply fire. The operation took 6 hours. When it was complete, Servitor 776G4409 was loaded onto a transport ship with 11,000 other gun servitors. They were shipped to the Cryptus sector. They were ammunition. The world was called Asphodex 3. It had been an agri-world once, fields of golden grain, endless skies, settlements built from wood and faith. Now it was a war zone. The Tyranids had made landfall 3 months prior. The fields were gone. The sky was choked with spores. The settlements were feeding grounds. The Imperial Guard held a defensive line along the remains of a mag rail station. 40,000 soldiers, 200 tanks, 16 artillery batteries, and 5,000 gun servitors. Servitor 776G4409 was positioned on the southern perimeter. He did not know this. He did not know where he was. He did not know what he was facing. He stood in a pre-designated firing position, mag locked to the ground, heavy bolter angled forward. He waited. The Tyranids came at dawn. There was no sound at first, just movement in the distance, a rippling wave like wind through grass. Then the horizon changed. It became teeth, it became claws, it became hunger, hormagaunts by the thousands, termagants, raveners, carnifexes. They did not charge, they flowed, a living tide. The Imperial Guard opened fire. Last beams cut through the swarm, autocannons barked, earthshaker shells screamed overhead. The servitors received their command signal, fire. Servitor 776G449 fired. His heavy bolter roared. Mass reactive shells tore through chitin and flesh. He did not aim. The targeting system did that. He did not feel the recoil. His augmented spine absorbed it. He simply fired over and over until the barrel glowed red. A hormagaunt reached him. It leaped. Scything talons flashed. The servitor did not flinch. He continued firing. The talons tore through his abdomen. Organs ruptured. Blood sprayed across the bolter's casing. He fired until the weapon jammed. Then he stopped. He did not fall. His mag-locked feet kept him upright. He stood there, bleeding, broken, while the Tyranids surged past him. He stood there for 6 more hours. By the time the Imperial Guard's retreat was called, half the servitors were dead or dismembered. The rest were deemed non-recoverable. Servitor 776G4409 was left behind. The Mechanicus does not abandon its equipment. After the Guard withdrew, a reclamation team arrived, tech priests and servitors sent to recover salvageable technology. They moved through the battlefield with auspexes, scanning for intact weapons, ammunition, augmetics. They found Servitor 76G4409 still standing. His abdomen was a ruin of exposed machinery and dried blood. His heavy bolter was jammed beyond field repair. His nutrient processor had failed, but his neural implants were intact. His brain, diminished and repurposed as it was, still functioned. The tech priest scanned him. Unit 776G4409. Combat viable, negative. Augmetic recovery, viable. The servitor was loaded onto a transport. He was brought back to the reclamation facility on Metallica Ultima. He did not know he had returned home. He did not know what home meant. The biomass reclamation wing of Metallica Ultima processes 60,000 bodies per day. Some are servitors. Some are failed Vatborn. Some are workers who died at their stations and whose corpses are more useful as raw material than as funeral pyres. Servitor 776G4409 was disassembled on a conveyor line. First, the augmetics were removed. The heavy bolter, the maglock souls, the manipulator claw assembly, still stored in the facility records, the neural implants, the data ports. Each piece was cleaned, tested, cataloged, and sent to the appropriate reprocessing station. Then the body. The flesh was stripped from the bones with chemical solvents. The bones were ground into calcium powder used in ceramite production. The flesh was rendered into protein paste used to feed other servitors and Vatborn workers. The brain was the last piece. It was examined by a junior tech priest, cataloged for neural tissue density, then discarded into a biofurnace. Inside that brain, a single pattern of neurons still held a memory. A girl, 17 years old. Her name was Senna. The memory lasted 3 seconds longer than the brain. Then it was Ash. Metallica Ultima submitted its quarterly report to the Administratum. Servitor production, 140,000 units above quota. Combat deployment, 11,000 units. Combat losses, 9,400 units. Biomass recovery, 98.3% efficiency. Augmetic recovery, 91.7% efficiency. The report was reviewed by a clerk on a distant orbital station. The numbers were acceptable. The Forge World was operating within expected parameters. No commendations were issued. No errors were flagged. The Imperium continued. Senna Keeney worked in Textile Manufactorum Delta 12. She had not seen her father in 4 years. She did not know what had happened to him. The Arbites had never told her. She had asked once at the Administratum office, and the clerk had checked the records and said, reassigned. She assumed he had been transferred to another sector. She hoped he was alive. She did not think about it often, because thinking led to sadness, and sadness led to distraction, and distraction led to errors. In the 3rd month of the year 408 to an M41, Senna made an error. She was operating a loom, a massive automated textile engine that wove flak armor fibers. The machine required constant monitoring. A thread had snagged. Senna reached in to clear it, as she had done 1,000 times before. She did not shut the machine off first. The loom did not stop. It pulled her hand in, Tendons snapped, bones shattered. By the time the emergency shutoff was triggered, Senna's right arm was mangled from wrist to elbow. She was taken to the Medicus station. The chirurgeon examined the damage and made his assessment. The arm could not be saved. He gave her a choice. She could have the arm amputated and be declared unfit for work. She would be reassigned to a menial labor pool, waste sorting, nutrient-paste packaging, tasks that did not require fine motor control. Or she could accept augmetic replacement. Her arm would be removed and replaced with a mechanical limb. She would be redesignated as Augmented Labor Class 7. She would continue her work at the Manufactorum. Senna chose the augmetic. She thought it was a small thing, just one arm. She would still be herself. The surgery took 4 hours. When she woke, her right arm was gone. In its place was a crude manipulator, heavy, graceless, built for function, not comfort. It did not feel like her arm. It felt like a tool grafted to her shoulder. But she could work. She returned to the loom. 3 years later, Senna made another error. She miscalibrated a tension setting. An entire batch of flak armor fibers was rendered defective. The overseers were summoned. An audit was conducted. The error was traced to Senna's workstation. The penalty for repeated negligence was servitorization. Senna was taken by the RBs. She did not resist. She was processed in the same facility where her father had been processed. She was strapped to the same kind of surgical table. A tech priest stood over her with the same instruments. She was lobotomized. She was augmented. She was repurposed. Servitor Unit 824D7731 was assigned to munitions transport. She stood in a depot for 16 hours per day. She lifted crates, she carried them, she placed them on pallets. She did not remember her father. She did not remember her name. She did not remember. This is not a story about one man or one woman. This is a story about the Imperium. Every forge world in the galaxy performs servitorization. Every hive world, every penal colony, every naval vessel, every cathedral. The Imperium produces billions of servitors every year. Some estimate the number is higher, trillions over the span of 10,000 years. No one knows the true number. The Administratum does not track individuals. It tracks units. A servitor is not a person. It is a resource. It is a tool. It is flesh corrected into function. The Mechanicus calls this sacred. The Ecclesiarchy calls it the Emperor's will. The Administratum calls it logistics. No one calls it murder, because murder implies waste, and the Imperium does not waste anything. There is a logic to this. There is always a logic. The Imperium is a dying empire. It spans 1 million worlds, but it is not expanding. It is collapsing inward, slowly over millennia. Every day, worlds are lost to xenos, heresy, warp storms, famine, rebellion. Every day, the Imperium must fight to hold what it has. It cannot afford mercy. Mercy is a resource, and resources are finite. Food is finite, fuel is finite, ammunition is finite. The Imperium must prioritize. It must calculate. It must decide who lives and who serves. A thief like Davros Keen is a problem. He consumed resources without authorization. He disrupted supply chains. In a smaller society, he might be rehabilitated. In a kinder society, he might be forgiven. The Imperium is neither small nor kind. It is vast and indifferent, and so it repurposes. A servitor can carry ammunition for 12 years. A servitor does not complain. A servitor does not sleep, does not dream, does not hope. A servitor is efficient. This is the argument the Mechanicus makes, and it is not wrong, but it is also not right. The horror is not in the pain. Pain can be endured. Pain can be understood. The horror is in the erasure. When Davros Kine was lobotomized, he did not die. His heart still beat. His lungs still drew breath. But the part of him that was him, the part that loved his daughter, that feared the dark, that dreamed of a better life, was cut away. He continued, but not as himself. This is what the Imperium does. It does not kill. It edits. It removes the inconvenient parts of a person and preserves the rest. It turns criminals into ammunition. It turns the weak into servitors. It turns the faithful into fuel. The Astronomicon, the great psychic beacon that guides ships through the warp, is powered by psychers. 10,000 psychers sit in the throne chamber beneath the Imperial Palace on Terra. They are burned alive, slowly, over months, their souls consumed to keep the light burning. They do not die quickly. They die screaming. But the Imperium calls this sacrifice, not murder. The black ships collect psychers from every world in the Imperium. Some are trained, Some are useful. The rest are fed to the Astronomicon, or to the Golden Throne, or to sanctioned psychers who need their souls as fuel. The Imperium does not waste, and so the horror continues, day after day, on a billion worlds, in a billion ways. The Imperium survives by burning people. This is not a flaw. This is the design. There are those who argue that the Imperium has no choice, that the galaxy is so hostile, so utterly filled with existential threats, that any mercy would doom humanity. They are not entirely wrong. The Tyranids devour worlds, chaos corrupts them, the Orks ravage them, the Necrons awaken beneath them, the galaxy is a meat grinder, and humanity is caught in it. But this does not excuse what the Imperium does. It only explains it. The Imperium could choose differently. It could treat its people as more than resources. It could value life over efficiency. It could theoretically find another way. But it won't. Because the Imperium is not a government. It is a machine. Machines do not change. They execute their programming. And the Imperium's programming was written 10,000 years ago by a man who valued survival above all else. The Emperor believed that humanity must endure, no matter the cost. And so the cost is paid, every day. In blood and flesh and sanity, the servitors do not protest, the lobotomized do not rebel, the faithful do not question. And so the machine endures. On Metallica Ultima, the manufactorums continue. Davros Kine is gone, Senekine is gone, but the assembly lines do not stop, the conveyor belts do not pause. The tech priests continue their hymns, the servitors continue their labor, the Forge World produces its quota, 140,000 servitors per month. The numbers are entered into the data stream. They are transmitted to Mars. They are reviewed by the Fabricator General's sub-administrators. They are marked as acceptable. No one remembers the people who became those numbers. No one asks if there was another way. In the munitions depot, a servitor lifts a crate. It carries the crate to the loading dock. It places the crate on a pallet. It returns to its position. It does this 800 times per day. It does not tire. It does not think. It does not dream of water. There is a prayer the Mechanicus recites during servitorization. It is called the Hymn of Correction. It goes like this. From weakness of flesh, we are delivered. From error of thought, we are cleansed. From burden of self, we are freed. The Omnissiah corrects. The machine endures. The flesh is repurposed. In function, we find salvation. The tech priests believe this. They believe that servitorization is not a punishment, but a mercy. That the criminal, the heretic, the weak, they are being saved. Their flawed humanity is stripped away. Their corrected forms are given purpose. They are made useful. This is what the Mechanicus teaches. And perhaps, in the cold calculus of the Imperium, it is true. But in the surgical theater, when the neural inhibitor slides into the brain, when the part of a person that makes them a person is severed, there is no salvation. There is only absence. Somewhere in the segmentum obscurus, on a world whose name has been stricken from imperial records, there is a mass grave. It is not marked. No headstones, no prayers. Just a pit, kilometers wide, filled with the remains of servitors whose bodies finally gave out. Millions of them. Their augmetics were removed. Their biomass was rendered. What was left, bone fragments, ceramic shards, scraps of unidentifiable organic matter, was dumped here. The Mechanicus calls it Reclamation Site Ultima 7. No one else calls it anything. No one visits. But if you stood at the edge of that pit, if you looked down into the layered strata of compacted remains, you would see what the Imperium is built on. Not faith, not steel, not even the Emperor's will. Just people. Broken down, repurposed, forgotten. The Imperium does not build monuments to its servitors. It does not write their names in stone. It does not remember them at all. Because they were never meant to be remembered. They were always meant to be used. Here's the truth they do not say aloud. The Imperium could survive without servitors. It would be harder. It would require more resources, more training, more care. It would require treating people as people, not as raw material. But it is possible. The Imperium does not servitorize criminals because it has no other choice. It servitorizes them because it is easier, because it is efficient, because the Mechanicus has calculated that a servitor is more cost-effective than a paid worker, because the Imperium has decided that some lives are worth less than others. And once that decision is made, once the logic is accepted, there is no limit to what can be justified. Thieves become servitors. The unproductive become servitors. The unlucky become servitors. The system does not care about guilt or innocence. It cares about supply and demand, and the demand is endless. In the lower hive of Metallica Ultima, there is a boy named Cave. He is 9 years old. He has never seen the sky. He works in a sorting facility, separating scrap metal from toxic waste. He does this for 14 hours per day. Cave does not go to school. There are no schools in the lower hive. He does not play. There is no time for play. He works, and when he is not working, he sleeps. Last week, Cave was caught taking a piece of scrap copper. He wanted to trade it for food. His rations had been cut because the facility was behind quota, and he was hungry. The overseers reported him. An arbitrator reviewed the case. Cave was given a choice: servitorization or penal labor until the age of 16. Cave is 9 years old. He does not understand what servitorization means. The arbitrator explains it in simple terms. You will be corrected. You will serve the emperor. Cave thinks this sounds better than penal labor. He chooses servitorization. His body is not fully developed. The Mechanicus will have to wait until he is older before performing the full conversion. For now, he is fitted with a preliminary neural inhibitor and assigned to a transitional labor pool. He will be fully servitorized at age 12. By then, he will have forgotten why he was afraid. The Imperium does not question its methods. It does not hold inquiries into the ethics of servitorization. It does not debate the morality of lobotomizing children. It does not ask whether there might be a better way. It simply continues. Because the Imperium is not a civilization, it is a survivor. And survivors do not have the luxury of ethics. They do what must be done. And what must be done, according to 10,000 years of precedent, is this: take the weak, take the criminal, take the inconvenient, repurpose them, make them useful, waste nothing. This is the Imperium's answer to scarcity, to war, to the endless grinding horror of the galaxy. It is not a good answer, but it is the only answer the Imperium has. And so it will continue on a million worlds, in a million ways, until the Imperium itself finally collapses. Or until someone remembers that the people being fed into the machine were people at all. There is a woman named Interrogator Vess. She is not important to this story, except that she saw something she was not supposed to see. Vess works for the Inquisition, not as an inquisitor herself, but as a field agent. She investigates corruption, heresy, inefficiency. She has been doing this for 23 years. She has seen things that would break most minds: daemon cults, genestealer infestations, entire regiments turned traitor. She thought she had seen everything. Then she was assigned to audit Metallica Ultima. The fabricator locum had submitted irregular reports, minor discrepancies in production quotas. The Inquisition wanted to ensure there was no corruption, no tech heresy, no unsanctioned experiments. Vess arrived with a small retinue. She was granted access to the manufactorums, the data archives, the processing facilities. She reviewed the numbers. Everything was in order. But Vess had a habit of going deeper than required. She requested access to the servitor conversion facility. The Mechanicus objected. It was not part of the audit parameters. But Vess invoked her inquisitorial authority, and the tech priests relented. She descended into the lower levels. She walked through the surgical theaters. She watched the process. A man was brought in. He was perhaps 30 years old. His crime was listed as repeated failure to meet production quotas. He had been sick, Vess learned later. A respiratory infection. He had missed 4 shifts in a single month. He was strapped to the table. The tech priest began the procedure. Vess watched as the man's skull was opened. She watched as the neural inhibitor was inserted. She watched as his eyes, still open, still aware, went flat. The man did not die, but something inside him did. Vess had authorization to be there. She had seen the legal documentation. She knew that servitorization was sanctioned by the Lex Imperialis, approved by the Ecclesiarchy, deemed necessary by the Administratum. She knew it was legal. But standing there, watching the light fade from a man's eyes while his heart still beat, she understood something she had never fully grasped before. The Imperium was not saving humanity. It was eating it. Interrogator Vess filed her report. She confirmed that Metallica Ultima was operating within legal parameters. No corruption, no heresy, no tech violations. She did not mention what she had seen in the surgical theater. She did not write about the man who had been sick. because it was not relevant to the audit, because it was not illegal, because there was nothing she could do. Vess had served the Inquisition for 23 years. She had hunted traitors and heretics. She had burned worlds to stop the spread of chaos. She believed, deeply, that she was doing the Emperor's work. But that night, alone in her quarters on the orbital station above Metallica Ultima, she could not sleep. She kept seeing the man's eyes, the way they went flat, not dead, just empty. Vess requested a transfer 3 weeks later. She was reassigned to a different sector. She never spoke of what she had seen, but she stopped sleeping well. And 20 years later, when she finally retired from the Inquisition, she did not pray as often as she used to, because she was not sure anymore who she had been serving. The Mechanicus believes that flesh is weak. This is the foundation of their faith. The body is fallible. It hungers, it tires, it feels pain. It is inefficient. The machine, by contrast, is pure. It does not waver. It does not doubt. It executes its function perfectly, eternally. The Omnissiah, they say, is the perfect fusion of flesh and machine. Servitorization is an imitation of that perfection. The weak flesh is corrected. The unreliable mind is replaced with programming. What remains is pure function. This is what the tech priests believe, and perhaps in their cold logic they are not wrong. A servitor does not suffer. It cannot suffer. The capacity for suffering has been surgically removed. But this raises a question that the Mechanicus does not ask. If suffering is removed, is the thing that remains still human? And if it is not human, what was the point of saving it? The Mechanicus does not engage with this question, because the answer might suggest that servitorization is not salvation. It might suggest that it is something else entirely. There are other ways. On some worlds, rare, distant, often forgotten, criminals are rehabilitated instead of servitorized. They are imprisoned, they work, they serve their time, and when their time is done, they are released. These worlds are exceptions. They are also often the first to fall, because rehabilitation requires resources, it requires infrastructure, oversight, mercy. And in a galaxy where every world is one invasion away from annihilation, mercy is a luxury. The Imperium cannot afford to be kind, and so it is not. But this does not mean there are no alternatives. It means the Imperium has chosen not to pursue them. It has decided that the cost of mercy is too high, and so the machine continues to consume. On a cathedral world called Ophelia VII, a preacher delivers a sermon. He speaks of sacrifice. He speaks of duty. He speaks of the Emperor's love for humanity. The Emperor, he says, does not ask for our comfort. He asks for our service, and in service we are made holy. The congregation nods. They pray. They believe. In the lower levels of the same cathedral, beneath the sanctums and the chapels and the gilded halls, there is a servitor. It was once a priest. It spoke heresy, or what the ecclesiarchy deemed heresy. It questioned the divinity of the Emperor. It suggested that faith should be paired with compassion. It was tried, convicted, and lobotomized. Now it scrubs floors. It does not remember the sermons it once gave. It does not remember questioning. It does not remember compassion. It scrubs. And upstairs, the preacher continues his sermon, and the congregation continues to believe. The Imperium tells itself a lie. It tells itself that servitorization is necessary, that there is no other way, that the criminals, the weak, the heretical, they would have been executed anyway, so why not make them useful? This is the lie, because the Imperium does not servitorize only the guilty. It servitorizes the unlucky, the sick, the poor, the inconvenient. On a hive world called Vergast, a child is born with a deformed leg. The Medicae could fix it. Augmetics exist. Surgeries exist, but the family cannot afford treatment. The child grows up limping. It cannot work as efficiently as others. At age 14, it is declared unproductive. It is servitorized. On a mining world called Ultima Tectum, a woman collapses at her workstation. She has been working for 36 hours straight. The overseers declare her weak. She is servitorized. On a shrine world called Blessed Martyr's Rest, a man is overheard saying that the local cardinal seems corrupt. He is reported by a neighbor seeking favor. He is servitorized. These are not criminals. They are victims. But the Imperium does not make this distinction. Because once the system is in place, once the logic is accepted, there is no limit to who can be fed into it. The machine is hungry, and the machine must be fed. There is an administratum clerk named Lorcus Vane. He works in Subsector Command, segmentum solar. His job is to review requisition orders and allocate resources. Food, fuel, personnel, servitors. Lorcus processes 80,000 requests per day. He does not read them carefully. There is not enough time. He reviews the numbers, checks them against quotas, and approves or denies. Most requests are approved. One day, a request comes through from a penal colony. The colony needs 2,000 servitors to replace units lost in a mining accident. The request is flagged as urgent. Lorcus checks the allocation charts. The colony is within its quota. He approves the request. 2,000 people will be servitorized to fulfill this order. Lorcus does not know their names. He does not know their crimes. He does not know if they committed crimes at all. He knows only that the numbers balance. This is his job, and he is good at it. Lorcus goes home that night. He eats his ration meal. He prays to the Emperor. He sleeps soundly. He does not think about the 2,000 people. Why would he? They are not people anymore. They are units. The Imperium is always at war. This is not hyperbole. At any given moment, there are 10,000 active war zones across the galaxy. The Astra Militarum deploys billions of soldiers. The Imperial Navy maintains millions of warships. The Adeptus Astartes fight on 1,000 fronts, and all of them need servitors. Gun servitors to hold defensive positions, loader servitors to feed ammunition into cannons, maintenance servitors to repair starships mid-battle, medical servitors to process casualties. The demand is endless, and so the supply is endless. Every world in the Imperium contributes. Forge worlds like Metallica Ultima produce servitors by the millions. Hive worlds export their criminals and unproductive. Penal colonies convert entire populations. The Imperium turns people into ammunition because it needs ammunition more than it needs people. This is the logic of survival, and the Imperium has been surviving for 10,000 years. So the logic must be correct, mustn't it? On a mining world called Kratos IV, the workers rebel. They have been pushed too far, rations cut, shifts extended, servitorization quotas increased. A foreman publicly executed for questioning orders. The miners rise up. They seize the manufactorums. They barricade the transit tunnels. They send a message to the Administratum: we will not be servitorized. We will not be turned into machines. The Administratum reviews the message. It calculates. Kratos IV produces 8 million tons of ore per year. The rebellion is disrupting production. This is unacceptable. The Administratum dispatches the Astra Militarum, 3 regiments, 12,000 soldiers, supported by armor and artillery. The siege lasts 6 days. The miners fight bravely, but they have mining equipment and improvised explosives. The Guard has las guns and tanks. The rebellion is crushed. 4,000 miners are killed in the fighting. 7,000 are captured. The Administratum reviews the situation. The captured miners could be executed, or they could be servitorized. The decision is obvious. 7,000 new servitors are produced. They are shipped to the front lines in the Cryptus sector. Within a year, 90% of them are dead. But for that year, they were useful. And in the Imperium, usefulness is the only virtue that matters. The Emperor of Mankind sits on the golden throne. He has sat there for 10,000 years. He does not move. He does not speak. He is sustained by the sacrifice of 1,000 psychers per day. Their souls burn to keep his mind alive, to keep the Astronomicon burning, to keep the Imperium from collapsing into the warp. The Emperor does not approve of servitorization. He does not disapprove either. He does nothing, because he cannot. The Emperor is dying. He has been dying for 10,000 years. His body is a desiccated husk. His mind is a fading ember, focused entirely on keeping the Astronomicon alive. He does not govern the Imperium. He has not governed it since the Horus Heresy. The Imperium governs itself, in his name, according to the systems he put in place 10 millennia ago, and those systems include servitorization. The Emperor, when he walked among men, valued efficiency above all else. He built an empire that could survive anything, and it has. But survival has a cost, and the Emperor is not awake to see what that cost has become. There are saints in the Imperium, living saints, blessed by the Emperor, touched by his divine will. They perform miracles. They inspire faith. They lead crusades. One such saint is called Celestine. She has died and returned to life many times. She is a symbol of the Emperor's love, his mercy, his protection. Celestine has walked battlefields. She has seen the servitors. She has seen the gun servitors standing in place, firing until they are torn apart. She has seen the loader servitors crushed beneath falling debris. She has seen the medical servitors processing casualties, their own bodies rotting from infection and exhaustion. She has never spoken against servitorization, because even saints must be pragmatic. Even saints understand that the Imperium survives by making difficult choices. But once, after a battle on a plague-ridden world, Celestine knelt beside a fallen servitor. It had been a woman once. Its augmetics were shattered, its chest was caved in, but its eyes, what remained of them, were still open. Celestine placed a hand on the servitor's forehead. She whispered a prayer, not a prayer of blessing, not a prayer of sanctification, a prayer of apology. "Forgive us," she said. The servitor did not respond. It could not. Celestine rose and continued to the next battle. She never spoke of that moment again. If you were to ask a tech priest whether servitorization is moral, they would not understand the question. Morality, to the Mechanicus, is irrelevant. There is only function. There is only efficiency. A servitor functions better than a criminal. Therefore, servitorization is correct. If you were to ask an ecclesiarchy priest, they would quote scripture. In service to the emperor, all are redeemed. Servitorization is redemption. The criminal's soul is saved by their labor. If you were to ask an administratum clerk, they would show you the numbers. The Imperium needs servitors. The Imperium produces servitors. The system works. If you were to ask an Imperial Guard officer, they would tell you about the war. We need every advantage. Servitors save lives, soldier lives. If you were to ask an Inquisitor, they would remind you that questioning the Imperium's methods is the first step toward heresy. No one asks the servitors, because they cannot answer. Somewhere in the data streams of Metallica Ultima, there is a fragment of corrupted code. It is not a virus. It is not a daemon. It is a ghost, the remnant of a neural pattern that should have been erased during servitorization but somehow persisted. The pattern contains a memory. A girl, 17 years old, standing in the sun. The memory does not belong to anyone anymore. The person who experienced it is gone. But the pattern remains, cycling through a forgotten data core, repeating endlessly. A girl, standing in the sun, smiling. The Mechanicus does not know this ghost exists. If they did, they would purge it. Corrupted data is inefficient, but for now the pattern remains. A ghost of a person who used to be, dreaming a dream no one will ever see. The Imperium will not stop servitorizing people. Not tomorrow, not in 100 years, not in 10,000 years. Because the Imperium is not capable of change. It is a machine, running on momentum and precedent. It does what it has always done because it does not know how to do anything else. The workers will continue to be taken, the criminals will continue to be lobotomized, the children will continue to be corrected. And the servitors will continue to stand at their stations, lifting crates, firing bolters, scrubbing floors, until their bodies fail and they are rendered into paste and fed back into the system. This is not a tragedy. Tragedies have endings. This is simply the way things are. In the Manufactorum, where Davros Kaine once worked, a new worker takes his place. Her name is Ilsa. She is 22 years old. She assembles lasgun charge packs. She does this 8,000 times per shift. She does not know that Davros worked here before her. She does not know what happened to him. She only knows that the water rations are still too low. And she is very, very thirsty. One day, she will make a choice, and the Imperium will make a choice in return, and the cycle will continue. Mechanicus production log, Metallica Ultima Solar, date 409.m41.087, servitor output, 140 units, quota met, biomass efficiency, 98.7%, augmetic recovery, 92.1%, operational status, optimal compliance acceptable. The Omnicia provides, the machine endures, the flesh is corrected. End report.